This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, all you crypto boomers, it is Paul and George and Bud back for this week's little crypto boomer chat. Today's date is April 28th, man. The month is already almost over. Before we get started, why don't you click that subscribe button and click the bell so that you get notifications when we put up new content. And also, if you would click the like button, that helps us when people are searching. And without any further of housekeeping stuff, let's go ahead and get started here. Guys, you there?
I
Yeah,
am.
hey Paul.
Hey, Bud and Paul. I'm just glad May is coming our way.
Man, oh man, I can't, like I said, it's April 28th, 2021. I cannot believe that this month is already almost over, and has it been a wild ride? Um, April has been just a crazy month. I mean, look, if you look at the screen right here, April 1st looks like uh, ETH started out at 1,900 bucks roughly and ran up to 2,500, pulled back. Everybody was freaking out. I got a few phone calls. I bet you guys did too. And then it ran back up and hit 2,600 and then pulled back again. Oh my gosh, I knew it was over. I knew it was done. I can't believe it. I should have got out. And then look where we're at now, all-time high. And man, just what a ride, guys.
What an amazing ride. You know, I have to do a shout out to the UK regulators for helping me with my crypto portfolio because part of my assets are in a fund through an entity. And at the start of the year, the FCA, which is like your SEC, banned trading crypto. And so I'm allowed to hold it, but not sell it in my. And so you're like, I thought, guys, thank you. You're making me a really strong holder.
Well, that's
Exactly.
kind of like having a steak put in front of you and saying you can't eat it.
It's a
But
force
yeah.
hodl.
Yeah. Well, guys, look at this chart. I mean, isn't it amazing? We were all in this back then, back in the 2018 top, and now we pull it out. And right now, for everybody that's just now coming into this space, you kind of see this chart and you're like, man, that's a pretty good move. That's not too bad. But then you look at it with this and wow, I mean, isn't this something that Jay's been teaching us for how long now? And some of these targets, and we're not going to give out Jay's targets, but if you want those, go over to the bitcoinacademy.net. And but I can tell you that with those targets, he's been accurate about 95% of the time, and we don't have a losing trade over the
No.
past three and a half years, 4 years. I think we're going on 4 years, guys. I think it was
Yeah.
middle of 2017, maybe third quarter 2017, and we've made it through the bear market, and now we're reaping some benefits. So anything, George, you got anything that you've seen this past week since we had our chat with Jay last week?
Well, well, first I want to let everybody know that we're leaving Patreon and we are moving to our own platform so that we're a little bit more censorship resistant, and that we can give quite a bit more focus on what people want. Because right now, when you go to Patreon, it's all well and good, but it's hard to find things. You can't put up certain charts or areas where people really need to learn about, like the liquidity swap. That's I think, and you guys will talk about this a little bit, is currently underway or very close to. And so, we're trying to create the site to support what people have been asking for. And so, we're moving away from patreon.com/crypto CRYPTOJ, and we're going to the bitcoinacademy.io. And the month of May is going to be the transition month. I think there's going to be a lot of fun things going on in May. We're going to have a transition from Patreon to our own, and we're going to see, I feel, some crypto rise that we've all been waiting for.
Mm.
But that's really been on everything on my plate right now.
I'm pretty
Well,
excited about that.
George, you've been in crypto for many years, and I know you have, Paul. I mean, I'm trying to remember every single May. It seems to be a stellar month. It seems to be an absolutely bullish month, the month of May, whether that's to do with the events that happen in May or it's just timing. But don't you seem to remember that May is always a good month?
Absolutely. And like there are some key months that I remember, and it's like, wow, that there are some Mays that I do remember. And I love to have Mays come up because the weather gets a little bit better over on this side of the pond, and it seems like crypto's run. And we can see what happens in June and July. I remember traveling cross country in, when was it? I think it was June, July, and it was after a stellar run in 2017. And it was on everybody's mind, it was on everybody's tongue. And then, when things went south, people stopped talking about it. And now that we're back in a nice bull, it seems to be the top of conversation.
Yeah, I know that I think they have the consensus event, and they always took pride that that was the cause of the bull run, but I don't think it's that. I think maybe it's big money getting in as well. So certainly with the crypto boomers, it's good to know that May is always historically been a good month. I remember 2017, and that was the first time I'd ever seen moves like it in May. Just absolutely astonishing rises. Do you remember when all the altcoins were popping like crazy in May 2017?
Yeah, it was a good time to be alive, and because I was not really exposed to the lessons that I've learned from Jay since 2018 or so, I didn't know what I was doing, and I thought I could take on the world because I was doing so well, and I didn't have a clue of what to do. So I'm in a much better space now than I was back then, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that we've been talking about, and Jay's been talking about, he had a video the other day that I thought was tremendous, and that is kind of preparing us for this liquidity swap coming up. And it looks like we're on pace to possibly get that maybe the end of May. Nobody knows for sure, but the end of May, early June. And let's talk about that for a minute, because I think that's such a huge event that a lot of new people that haven't been in this space for very long. Well, if you weren't in the space in 2017, early 2018, you didn't experience it. And when we talk about liquidity swap, why don't we kind of explain that just a little bit for anybody that hasn't experienced that? What do you talk about that a little bit, Bud?
I can explain that very simply. It's simply all those rich Bitcoiners that have made a lot of money in Bitcoin basically look for alternative coins to run into. And so they start looking at the other projects, and then there's this huge switch because people get fearful of Bitcoin having a correction, and they want to protect those gains that they've got. So they rush, the money rushes from Bitcoin into the alternatives, and then that usually goes until Ethereum then caps out, when Ethereum is the king of all the alts, whereas Bitcoin is the king of kings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the liquidity swap is well, first of all, the crypto space is a very violent or very volatile space to be in, and that's that will test your nerves, but at the same time, that's what creates wealth in ways that you could only imagine just a few years ago. And so what happens, like Bud said, is Bitcoin will reach a point where most traders believe that it is topped out and it's getting ready to, it's finishing a fifth wave and it's getting ready to do an ABC correction, whether that is 65,000 or 80,000. or 100,000, whatever. Nobody knows, but collectively, at some point, the majority of traders will make the decision that we're getting close and decide, okay, the altcoins haven't started their run yet, or maybe started it but haven't kept up, and I'm going to take my profit at $70,000 in Bitcoin, and I'm going to move it over to, for instance, maybe a T fuel that is down in the 30-cent range, and take this on up to $1.10 or something like that. So another one that is on the radar is I believe this is XLM. No, that's Flamingo. I'm not used to having one screen, so my GoToMeeting thing kind of covers up my chart, so it's kind of difficult to do this. But
yeah,
but Flamingo. And anyway, to make the point is, you take your $70,000, maybe you were in Bitcoin at 10 grand, you take your 7x on Bitcoin, knowing that even if Bitcoin went to 140, that's only a 2x from the 70, and you move it over into something that maybe has for instance, a Theta Fuel that I don't know what the next target is off the top of my head, but let's just assume it's $1.50. So then you've got a 5x from that point. Now, many of us have been in this coin for a long time, down in the 10-cent range, but it's the liquidity swap is something that you do whenever Bitcoin, the king of kings, reaches that certain level, and then you move those funds into another coin that can give you an even greater X factor. Nobody teaches this better than Jay. I'm probably butchering it, but Jay absolutely teaches this in such a way that it just completely jumps off the screen at you and makes complete sense. We've already done it in a few coins, haven't we, guys? We've already swapped out some stuff on a few coins. I've already done my swap on Bitcoin. I made the decision a month ago or so, maybe 2 months ago, to swap out my Bitcoin for some other assets that have turned, $55,000 Bitcoin into, many multiples of that. So, but that being the case, even if you don't have a Bitcoin to swap out of at 70, just be patient, because if you're in XLM, if you're in Flamingo, if you're in ADA, if you're in some of these Hedera, HBAR, Neo, I mean, the list goes on. That's when those coins become or start making their volatile move up. So what about you, George? What as far as the liquidity swap, and from your perspective, because you're one of the OGs with Bud and I back in the day of 2017, 2018, what's something that you remember from that last swap?
I kind of did a swap from Theta into, I think, one of my favorite coins right now, and I was not a big fan, but Flamingo. I mean, the fiasco that we went through to do the airdrop for Flamingo, I think that cut about a week off of my life. The stress that we kind of went through, getting this big group of people saying, "Oh, sure, it's an easy airdrop," and then turning out like, wow, it was anything but easy. I think we ended up with like 30 videos on how to do it across the board. But I am loving Flamingo, and I've actually done a couple videos on the Flamingo.finance platform and seeing how they are coming in and going to really help the DeFi space. And so I'm a big fan of Flamingo, and I don't think I would have become as big a fan of Flamingo if I didn't pivot out of some of my Theta into Flamingo.
Mm-hmm. You said DeFi space. Can you give a real quick definition, and I'll jump over to you, Bud? But when you mentioned DeFi, I know I've had some questions from some newer people on what that means. Just give me a quick synopsis of what DeFi means.
Yeah, basically decentralized finance, and it is a way that you can take each DeFi platform, you can think about like an exchange kind of situation or scenario, will focus on different things. And the finance, Flamingo.finance space site, really, you can stake a pair of Flamingo and Neo, add liquidity, which means you will add the ability for people to swap in and out of those two coins. You can add that liquidity and earn something by holding both of those coins, and then stake it on top of that. And the return that I'm getting on Flamingo right now, it started out as 86% return on a yearly basis, and it's dropped down to I think 40% now. But that is a really good return, because I don't get anything like that if I have fiat in a bank. I'm lucky to get like 0.5% or 1%. Yeah, right now, if you do a stake of Flamingo Neo, you're getting a 34% return APY. So DeFi is the space that I think ICOs were back in 2017, 2018. But I think they have a better chance of staying around, because they are doing something for the space. They're doing something for people. They are allowing you to hold your coins, hold your keys, and earn a return instead of just having them sit in your wallet and do nothing.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Bud, I cut you off there a second ago. What was your thought?
Yeah, I was just going to say great points, George. I wondered if I could share the screen for a second, because I've wanted to go back to the liquidity swap, and one of the things that our coach advises is that he gives us permission to have our own thinking as well. And so rather than just, in fact, he encourages us to make our own decisions and think about our own things. And in my view, like, I actually think that we've been doing the liquidity swap now for some time. It's just been a slow burn. So what I'm showing you here is the Bitcoin dominance. This is the chart. It's a little bit like the dollar versus all the other fiat currencies, the basket of fiat currencies, where the dollar is compared to other fiat currencies. And this is Bitcoin, like the dollar, being compared to all the other cryptocurrencies in its space. And so at one point we were running up, weren't we, to, I don't know if you remember these days, but up to 70% plus. So basically over 70% of the market was Bitcoin. So all those Bitcoin holders were very excited, and thus altcoin holders trying to get a little bit more return, which is maybe patiently meditating and visualizing the rises, weren't we? But then we had what was expected, this kind of slow drip out of Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin dominance starts to fall and hits this line. And as you can see, I've got this little explosion here. I thought it was going to be more violent than we saw, but this seems to just drip down like a slow motion, waterfall. But at some point it's going to pick up momentum, but it's broken all these different lines. And maybe that's why we're expecting May to be very good, because I've got it coming down again from this head and shoulders pattern, which is what we're taught in the bitcoinacademy.io.
Hey, Bud, leave that there for just a second. I'm gonna recommend that everybody that can see this, take a snapshot of that so that you have it, because that's a great chart, Bud. I'm glad you posted that.
Yeah, there's the head and shoulders. Can you see the head and shoulders? I drew this out.
Yes.
And
yes.
You take the measurement at the top of the head. So here's the shoulder, left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder. So I took the measurement from the head, and then I did that on the break of the pattern. And you can sort of say with confidence that if it does follow through, then the pattern will play out to the first stop, which is way down here. So this is the point where I'm actually, I'm kind of hoping to take some profits off the altcoins when I see this happen. Ironically, it says here, look on my chart, take some profits on alts. I took nothing. So
Well, I mean, you make a good point though. We have plans. Okay, we've got trade plans. You got to plan your trade your plan. But that said, you've also got to update those plans as the chart, changes a little bit here and there. Markets change. Jay is outstanding at, updating our targets, giving us updates frequently when necessary. So he's just done that recently, giving us some target updates. As a matter of fact, he went through, was it last Saturday or last Friday? The days are running together, but I think he went through all the targets for all the coins one day last week. And I tell you what, you talk about pages of notes. That's where you write down all your notes, all your targets, and then you kind of put them on your charts. And then as we approach those, if some things change, Jay is just outstanding at making sure that he updates us on, market conditions and, volume and all of the different things that go into trading. So, but I love that chart. And, guys, the fact is, Bitcoin hit $1 trillion market cap this year. I mean, that's a huge step.
Yeah.
As far as
Paul, I would have actually made quite a bit of money if I'd have stuck to my guns and actually taken some profit here, because that was just a few days before we saw that big drop off in Bitcoin in April, and then it has rebounded somewhat since. But again, thank goodness we have the training in psychology, because I just turned off my portfolio and forgot about it and just focused on the total targets. And I know for a fact that in May, I'll forget about this potential for profit taking here, because by the time we get up here, or basically at this point, if we do, then it's going to be extremely rewarding. So yeah, it's a tough market for crypto boomers. And so if you're just coming in and you're new, don't put much in. Get used to it. That's what my recommendation would be.
Yeah, please don't put much in. And if you do, make sure you're looking at the charts and picking coins that haven't made the big moves yet that some of them have. I mean, my goodness, Neo. Think about Neo. Can you pull up a Neo chart just so that we can show one that made a big move and then a big pullback? And I got a few calls on this one to where people were like, "Is it over? Is it done? Or did I miss out?" And I mean, my goodness, look at that move on Neo. And Jay had us in Neo way back.
Yeah.
And it's not even close to the ultimate target for this spring target, not the ultimate target, but this spring target. It's not even close. So, when you talk about psychology and being able to weather these pullbacks, there's a lot to be said for that. As far as
look at what our coach teaches us. Look, these are my lines. These are not Jay's lines. These are my lines. And look at that. Almost hit. I mean, I was pretty close. But look, now it's hitting this resistance. Maybe this could be an ABC.
Right. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. He's not giving us fish. He's teaching us how to fish, and that is the beauty of having him and the constant education. That was one of his posts this week called education, and that is so true. I mean, how many people in the Patreon group commented on that video about, I put $4,000 in 2017, and now I have, one of them was like $280,000, something like that. So, it's exciting to see, and that's through a bear market. The majority of that was made in the past 3 or 4 months, probably. But it's
Paul,
neat.
let's say it as it is. And I mean, basically, the group that we're belonging to, under the guidance of George and Jay, there's many, many millionaires that have been created as a result of it. And so the wealth
No,
that has been created is, and that's not over. I know that both of you guys have, both you, George and Jay, have the heart to help as many people as you can, because there's no shortage of abundance in cryptocurrency, right?
Absolutely.
I asked Jay that the other day. I said, why do you do it, man? You know, why you don't have to do this. We were on a private call, and I said, you know, there's so much work that you put into it, you and George both. And I said, why are you doing it? And he said, I have a passion to help others. And as long as I can do that, I'm going to do it. And, you know, George, you have that same passion, don't you?
You know, I do. And I think that's one reason why Jay and I get along so well. And, you know, we just want to really help people succeed. And that gives me so much joy, that it's well worth all of it. And that's what I love doing.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. It shows. And, you know, one of the things, I don't know if you mentioned it earlier, I had a call that I had to take, but you mentioned the new site coming up and getting out of Patreon and getting to the point where you can actually control the content, or as far as knowing that you're not going to be, you know,
There's your call, Paul.
I know. Yeah, it's probably somebody asking me, what should I do with my Neo?
Yeah.
But anyway, back to that, and I've lost my train of thought. Remind me what I was talking about. I'm sorry.
It's fun because this is YouTube, and it's not as if we're on television, you know, where everything's about.
Yeah.
Where everything's
like
made
I told
up.
you before, my mama
Yeah,
told me
yeah.
I'd have a face for radio.
Where everything's made.
Oh, it is fun.
No, what I started to say was it just the passion that you guys have, and the fact that you've put in the effort and the work, because you could have continued on Patreon and probably been okay, other than the fact that you never know when they're gonna decide what you're talking about isn't what they want you talking about. And you guys put in a lot of work, especially you, George, because Jay's told me a lot of work to get this site up and running to where you can actually offer this education long term, and nobody can take it down just simply because they don't like what you're saying. So I'm really excited about that. And listen, if anybody has the inclination to be educated in this space, not only in this space, but also in the psychology of trading and psychology of life, in business and success and creating wealth. Listen, you can create all the wealth you want, but if you don't keep it, it's no good. So educate yourself. It's so important to get that education. And I would suggest you go over to the Patreon and get signed up before they make that move. I don't know if you mentioned this, George, but right now you can get in that Patreon at the current price. But when you make that move, in order to offset a lot of the costs and servers and all that stuff, that price is going up, isn't it?
It is. You know, right now, the monthly fee at Patreon is $77. And it's funny because Jay and I, you know, we've gone back and forth, and how are we going to structure this? What's best for everybody, you know, involved? And we were doing a live stream, and Jay was, you know, it's going to be, you know, just $77, or, you know, we were going to move it up to 88. And it was going to go from 77 Patreon right now. I don't want to confuse everybody, but we were going to move it up to 88 when we move to the new site, just because, you know, we're going to incur new fees and that type of thing. And then I did the calculation, and the way we're doing it is if you buy it for a year, we're actually extending it till the end of what Jay feels is the bull market, which is well, I might as well, September 2022. And so you buy a year and you get to September 2022. So if you do the calculation, it's like $70 a month. So it actually, the price has gone down than going up. So, you know, everybody kind of wins on that. So, you know, we still have quite a bit of time left in this bull market.
Okay, guys, you heard a little slip up of George. He said, just take that little nugget that George just gave you that we're thinking, or Jay's thinking that this bull market will last until September 2022. Now, think about that. You got, how many months is that? 18 months, roughly? 17, 18 months. If you think that education through this bull market is not worth $70 a month, you're crazy, because the amount of money that you can make over this next 16 to 18 months in this bull market with the education you can get there, it's staggering. It is staggering. And trust me, coming up real quick when this liquidity, if you're not in the market or you're just getting in, this liquidity swap is probably going to happen. No guarantees, but probably going to happen into May, early June, somewhere in there. Might extend out a little longer than that, whatever. But when it does, and all these things pull back, you're going to want to know what to get into and when to get into it. And the only way you can know that is through education. So anyway, I caught you on a little slip up there, George.
I know, I'm going to get my hand slapped. No, and you know, the funny thing is, and I know we're getting, you know, long in this, but you know, if they have not heard crypto, and they'll, you know, people may listen to this in the future, when the liquidity swap happens, it is going to be on the front page of everything, because, you know, remember what happened in 2017 when things just went nuts. It's going to go nuts. Potentially, it's going to go nuts again. And, you know, be careful what you wish for. You might just get it. And, you know, the emotions are going to run a different direction than what they were during the bear market. So it's going to be a fun time. Lots of interesting things will occur.
You have to be quick, right? You have to be really quick on the trigger, because I know that in the bear market, look, I mean, you showed that we showed that chart earlier. It's probably here on Neo somewhere, but you know, it's like you get kind of months, if not years, down at the accumulation stage, down at the bottom. But when we get to those highs, you get days and often hours. So you've got to have like a plan, and you've got to stick to it. But look at my chart here. I am trying to put in where I think optimism is, and belief, and thrill. I'm just waiting for the euphoria. Goodness me, am I waiting for the euphoria? There it is.
Amen to that, brother.
There it is. It's coming. It is coming. Well, listen, probably the most important thing you can do, if you haven't done it already, is get in on that education and go. And the first video I would suggest is not the targets, not anything like that. I would suggest you go back to the one of the first videos, one of the first teachings that Jay did, and that is the trading psychology, and get a grip on that, because like you guys said, when this flares off, it's a wild ride, and you want to have the right psychology in order to take advantage of it. So anything you guys want to wrap up with before we finish up here?
I
think I'm good to go. This has been a fun episode.
Yeah, let me wrap up. One more thing, Paul, is for YouTube, I would say don't listen to me, because this green line is my prediction, and I predicted it here. And look, I thought it was going to do this. I got it wrong. Look, I was like, I'm a genius, and then bang, whoop, where did that come from?
And isn't that the case?
It's so hard to you know, to actually predict. So it's like, again, just enjoy the ride and know that it's going up.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we know the trajectory. It's just how it's going to get there. As soon as you think that you have arrived and you know exactly what it's going to do, it'll smack you down quicker than anything. So
yeah, on that day, look, that day was a big slap. I thought it was going up, and it kind of goes down.
Well, I'll tell you just real quick, for me to finish, is a couple weeks ago we were on vacation, and on vacation I was About once a day. I'd just look at it and see where we were at. And boy, it was exciting, man. Things were going up. I'm like, wow, this is great. And then all of a sudden she turned around and we did a pullback. And back in 2017, that was kind of a depressing time, you know, watching what I perceived to be all that wealth disappear. But listen, all we're doing is we're pulling that rubber band back, and it's about to be released. So you guys better be prepared. That's all we can say. And being prepared is being educated. So with that, guys, just remember, it's not about just investing. It is about creating wealth. Smash that like button. We will talk to you next time.